The Googleyness, intellectual humility answer that sounds great, but fails the hiring committee member. The reason most candidates fail this specific question is that they pick a story where they were ultimately right and frame the contradiction as a minor detour, which tells the hiring committee member they are defending their ego instead of demonstrating a genuine belief revision. The question is, tell me about a time your analysis contradicted your hypothesis and you updated your recommendation accordingly. This probes Googleyness, intellectual humility, which at Google means you treat evidence as more authoritative than your own prior judgment. What the interviewer is actually listening for is not how big your original error was, but how quickly and cleanly you pivoted once the data contradicted you. Here is how most candidates answer this question about updating a recommendation when the data contradicts them.
I was working on a feature adoption analysis, and I hypothesized that power users would drive long-term retention. My initial numbers seemed to support that, but when I dug deeper, I realized the correlation was partly driven by a confounding variable: users who joined during a promotional period. Once I controlled for that, the effect was weaker. I updated my deck to note the limitation and recommended we keep monitoring before making a big investment. My manager appreciated the honesty, and we ended up validating the hypothesis 6 months later.
Candidate walked back the update. Hypothesis was validated later anyway. Recommendation changed to keep monitoring, no concrete pivot or action. Framing centers on manager approval, not evidence-driven decision quality. Here is what I am writing in the debrief right now. Item 1. Candidate soften the update. Hedge to keep monitoring is not a recommendation change. Item 2. Story resolves with original hypothesis validated, undermines the belief revision signal. Item 3. Update framed as adding a limitation note, not a decisive analytical pivot. Item 4. No evidence of changed mental model or analytical process going forward. Verdict: does not demonstrate Googleyness, intellectual humility. Same question, same situation. Listen to how this candidate demonstrates the belief revision the hiring committee member is actually scoring.
I hypothesized that reducing onboarding steps would increase 7-day activation by at least 15%. Post-launch analysis showed activation was flat, but session depth dropped 8%. Users were reaching the core feature faster, but not understanding it. I killed the rollout within 48 hours and rewrote the recommendation. The problem was comprehension, not friction. I partnered with the UX researcher to design a contextual tooltip experiment, which lifted 7-day activation by 11%. The original hypothesis was wrong on the mechanism, not the goal. And moving quickly on that distinction is what mattered.
Specific metrics stated for original hypothesis and contradicting result. Pivot was decisive and fast. Rollout killed within 48 hours. Candidate identified the mechanism error, not just the surface number. Cross-functional action taken immediately. No, keep monitoring hedge. Notice the difference. The update was a decision, not a caveat. Item 1. Crisp, evidence-driven pivot. Rollout killed within 48 hours of contradicting data. Item 2. Candidate distinguished mechanism, error, from goal error, shows analytical depth. Item 3. Recommendation changed completely, not hedged, demonstrates genuine belief revision. Item 4. Cross-functional follow-through with measurable outcome validates updated hypothesis. Verdict: strong signal, strong hire. Before your loop, run your story through these 3 questions. 1. Does your story end with your original hypothesis being proven right? If yes, the hiring committee member reads it as ego protection, not belief revision. 2. Did you make a concrete, different decision, not just add a caveat? Hedging to monitor further signals you avoided the update, not that you made one. 3. Can you name the specific metric that contradicted you and when you acted? Without a number and a timeline, the pivot sounds vague and the speed signal disappears. If you cannot pass all three, you do not have an intellectual humility story. You have a story about being careful, and those are not the same thing. How do your real stories score? Get a personalized report scored against the interview rubric Google uses for your role. Find it at interview101.com.